Hello and welcome. And today we will take a very important aspect about UPSC optionals, which is basically taking mathematics as an optional. So here I am, Supriya Singhal, and here is something about me. And today we are going to be taking mathematics optional in little bit detail, understanding the syllabus, understanding the past year's pattern, and also like which books to study for the paper 1 and paper 2, different chapters that are mentioned there itself. Okay, so I know like mathematics has been an option which has especially gained the craze in like few past few years because a lot of toppers have come from this field, and everybody is like wondering whether we should also take mathematics as an optional. So here what we'll do is we'll first discuss the syllabus, and in the end I'll tell you whether who should actually take mathematics as an optional. Because see, optional is a very important part of your preparation, because as you all know that one GS paper in mains examination basically will have something around 250 marks. Okay, how many marks? 250 marks. And similarly, if you take any optional, it will have basically paper 1 and paper 2, and these both papers combined will be like 500 marks. Okay, which has a major stake in your preparation. So if you are able to get somewhere around 280 to 300 and above that in your optionals itself, even if you have given like a mediocrely okayish GS papers, you will still find your name in the list. Okay, so optionals make a lot of difference, especially in your GS mains marks at the time when GS papers are becoming difficult, or either they're becoming easier and everybody is scoring high. So in both of the situations, you will find that your optional is actually something that is pulling your scores up. So choosing an optional and then continuing with it is a very important task. So there are people who take like maths as an optionals, and then they in the middle of a strategy that they realize that this optional is really huge. Okay, it has 13 chapters, and then mathematics is not helping you anyway in GS, unlike your other optionals like history, IER, or probably governance, PSIR. So geography, like your polity. So this maths is not helping you in your GS preparation. So what people feel is that they take, if you are from an engineering background or a BSc maths background, what you will do is end up doing is that you will think, okay, maybe I should take maths because 60 or 50% of the syllabus matches with my engineering syllabus. But when you go into this preparation mode, you will realize that the parts that you studied in your engineering are not exactly same what you want to study here, but here you will require a little more depth. Okay, so somewhere if a particular chapter in engineering might have taken you 1 day, here it will take like 3 to 4 days minimum. So that in that way, what happens is that it is suggested that whatever optional you take, you at least give like 6 to 8 months to it. Okay, like a proper preparation to it, because between prelims and mains there is not enough gap. So you won't be able to like complete an optional, but you will be having time only to revise an optional. Okay, and mathematics is a very bulky optional. So it is generally said that you have to take mathematics only A, you're good at mathematics, and B, you like solving mathematics, that you can solve 6 hours of mathematics every day along with GS, because GS cannot be like taken away from your preparation. You have to do everyday GS 1 2 3 4 essay and ethics. So sorry, an essay. So 5 papers of GS definitely you have to do. Okay, and apart from that you have to do 2 optional papers also. So in that way, like choosing an optional which is from your GS subjects is little easier. But I would say mathematics has become a very scoring optional. You must have find a lot of toppers who are scoring 80, 90, 85, like these marks in GS, but they are still in the top 10 in the rank list of UPSC, only because they've scored in maths like 330, 340, 325. So somewhere I would say that maths gives you an opportunity to pull your scores up, but this should not be the only factor. Like marks cannot be the only factor to take something as an optional. It also is dependent on a lot of other factors. Okay, so with this thought in mind, first what we'll do is I'm assuming that all the people who are watching this video, either they're interested in taking maths as an option, or they've already taken maths as an option and they're looking for something to strategize their preparation, like how to go about it, which chapter to study first, which chapter not to study first, etc. So all this will take along with the books that you need to study, so that you comprehensively you find one video on internet, which I know is very difficult to find, specifically if you're studying for maths optionals. So here I am with this strategy, and I hope you really like it. So we'll start with paper 1. So first of all, you should know that maths has 2 papers, just like every other optional. It has paper 1 and paper 2. So paper 1, you will find it has 6 chapters, and paper 2 has 7 chapters. So in all, you will find you have 13 chapters. Okay, now in paper one, you will find that generally, even if you look at the past year scores of toppers, like you will find the paper one scores have been little higher than paper two. And also you will find that if you read those excerpts of all the toppers, you will realize that they have said that they attempted like very high in paper one, but what they ended up getting was less. So even if suppose if the paper one is of 250 marks, you'll find that a lot of times people attempt at least 220, somewhere around this, okay, 220, and correct attempt might be somewhere around 180 or 190. But what they end up getting is like 130, 140 or 150. So there is a huge gap in between what they are correctly attempting versus what they are getting. But if you compare it to paper 2, you will realize that same toppers will say that they attempted 180 marks of paper and they roundabout got somewhere around 170. So this is telling you that even though paper 1 you're attempting higher, your marks, the marks that you're getting is really less. But in paper 2, whatever you're attempting, the marks you're getting is really high. So that means you have to actually prepare and make sure that you're making a preparation like this. And this is something that I have actually experienced, and I have like gathered this information by talking to a lot of people in this field. Otherwise what happens is everybody will start preparing only for paper one, and they will prepare because all these paper one topics I'm telling you: linear algebra, calculus, analytical geometry, ODE, vectors. So these two you have done in your engineering itself, okay, if you're an engineer. And dynamics and statics you might have done in your 11th and 12th. Okay, so that way if you see, this paper one is actually your revision happening from starting from class 11, 12, then you're engineering, 4 years of engineering. So you are really comfortable in it. So it becomes A or easy, and even UPSC knows it. So they also know that these particular topics are easy, and it's very easy to score. So somewhere you will find that in paper one, even though just like I said, that you are attempting more, but the marks that you're getting is less. But compare it to paper two. So if you look at the paper two topics, I'm sorry, it is paper two here. So if you look at the paper two topics, you will realize that there are very few people who have actually studied these topics. So complex analysis, but only I will say 30% of it you might have studied in engineering, if you have, okay, depending on what kind of engineering field you were in. Linear programming you must have studied, but not in details. Like very, I would say simplex method, so we have not studied for sure. What we have studied is basically graphical solution that we studied in class 11th and 12th. So you consider around 10% of what linear programming you know from earlier, but you don't know much more than that. Okay, numerical analysis and computer programming. If you're obviously from ITs or computers, you definitely know computer programming. And numerical analysis also you do it in engineering. So let us take that this 100% you know. Okay. Mechanics and fluids, I would say 20%, because in this mechanics we might have done either in engineering or in 11th and 12th. Fluid dynamics is something not everybody does until you are like in civil engineering or mechanical engineering. So let us just consider, to be safer side, 20% of it. PDE you might have not done. And then real analysis, mostly no, only the part which is which is actually the part in calculus also, which is in paper one, that you might have done it in real analysis. But apart from that, real analysis is certainly not touched. And modern algebra definitely not until you are from BSc or MSc mathematics. So that means in this entire paper, you have hardly done quarter of it before, and 75% of it is new. And also, paper 2 has another speciality. What is it? Paper 2, the topics that are mentioned, you might have not studied them before, like it's a high chance. Secondly, the topics here are really theoretical. Like unlike paper 1, where you require a lot of solving, you just like, you know a pattern of solving and you solve it. Here you will realize there is more of theory, there is more of theorems involved, like proof of theorems, modern algebra, real analysis. Okay, these are like that. But PDE is a little numerical. Then similarly, fluid dynamics also has a lot of conceptual questions. Like here you cannot just learn a formula and you can apply it directly. You have a lot of conceptual knowledge involved here. You need to know, okay, this is like, you need to have that imagination, 3D imagination. Okay. In numerical analysis and computer programming, I'll say it's a little tough for people who have not from computer programming background, because it's not easy to get around the codes. So what happens in computer programming is you need, like if they ask you to write the entire Fortran or C or C++ language, like entire code, you need to start from like the beginning, like hashtag include stdio that stdio.h, etc. So until till we put those curly brackets and put like this end, so stop end or end, so you have to write the entire code. So remembering those codes is not easy until you get the grasp of it. So important part of paper 2 is you need to understand it in much more detail than you understand paper 1. Secondly, it is more theoretical in nature, and it is basically theorem proving. And theorem provings in maths are much more difficult part than having an application based paper. And three is that paper 2 also is difficult. Like when you actually see paper 1 versus paper 2, you will realize that paper 2 is always difficult than paper 1. Like even if you talk to like these toppers who scored marks, you will find that they're scoring lesser marks in paper 2. Okay, is if compared to paper 1, but in paper 2 they'll always say that paper 2 was much more difficult. Okay, so never lose your hope with paper 2, because paper 2 is like that. And even I think for almost all the optionals like I had interaction with, they always said that paper 2 was also difficult for them. Okay, so that means that UPSC has a certain set of a standard and a pattern, and you need to understand that before you jump into the preparation right away. So I am sure that you must have understood the 6 and 7 chapters combination of paper 1 and paper 2. And now we will take each chapter in little bit detail and understand the topic, as well as what part of it is more important for the exam perspective, and also the book that you should be studying. Okay. So the first chapter of paper 1 is basically linear algebra, and here you will find if I have to divide linear algebra, I'll divide it into two parts. A is the vector spaces part of it. Okay, and second is the matrices part of it. Okay, so in vector spaces and matrices, so from here vector spaces till here rank and nullity concept, you will find that it is mostly vector spaces, and from here matrix of a linear transformation till the last eigenvalues, this is basically the second part, which is matrices. Okay, so UPSC has kept a balance, because they have been asking questions from both vector spaces and matrices. And the book that I recommend you to follow for this is basically Schwarm series. Okay, so Schwarm series of linear algebra is a book that is readily available in the market. They have quite good examples also. See, generally in maths, what is happening? There are publishers. Okay, like for example, S. Chand publication. Then there is Krishna publication. Then there is Rai Singhania publication. Okay, so what is happening? That these they have taken all the 13 chapters, and they have basically published all 13 chapters book. So either you can go set by set. Like I know people who have taken entire Krishna series set because it has all the 13 chapters. Okay, so it's on you, but I generally don't recommend it because I feel that Krishna series can't be good for entire 13 chapters. Okay, I mean there are books better than that also available, but if you have already done it and you're already in the preparation, then no need to change as such a strategy, because maths, it's only about the questions that you're solving and more number of questions that you're solving. So if you're already solving enough questions, there is no point of you missing out on something. Okay, so if you haven't bought any book and these publications, etc., then you can go for Schwarm series. So just like that, Schwarm series also has, you will find that Schwarm series also has an entire like 10 to 12 book set of all these chapters of maths. So it's on you what you want to follow, but I'll be giving you one specific book for at least one, at least each chapter, so that if you want, you can buy these books. Okay, so Schwarm series is a book that I recommend for this particular chapter. Let's move to chapter number 2. Okay, this chapter is basically calculus, and this chapter is really easy if compared to real analysis. But when you prepare for UPSC, paper 2 real analysis and paper 1 calculus have to be prepared together. Okay, you cannot prepare them separately, you have to prepare them together. So please mark my words, whenever you are studying for maths, do not take paper 1 and paper 2 separately, because there are a lot of topics which are interrelated to each other. And if you study them together, your time, the total time taken to study those chapters will reduce. Okay, so paper 1 calculus and paper 2 real analysis will be studied together whenever you start your preparation. In calculus, you will find, if I have to divide it basically in parts, I can divide it into A is basically mean value theorems. See, A is basically limit, continuity and differentiability. Okay, this is like one part of it. Then second comes your mean value theorems. Here you will have rules like Lagrange's and Cauchy's mean value theorem. Then there comes the part of curve tracing. Okay, curve tracing, and then after you have traced the curve, you can find surface area, volumes, etc. And fourth is basically the integral part of it. Okay, now integral I can divide into further two parts. One is indefinite integration and another is definite integral. And in definite integrals only, you have something called as Riemann integration. Please, I'm requesting you, either you take a screenshot or you basically take a, you start writing in your copy, but have an outlook like this in your copies made if you're taking maths as an optional, because maths is very vast. You need to have subtopics written in a chronological order. So whenever you're revising, you know exactly, oh yeah, I studied this and this, this and this, this and this, and this way you can cover the entire chapter. Okay, so in calculus, what is there? Limit quantity differentiability, mean value theorems, curve tracing, and then subsequent surface area, volume, double integrals, triple integrals. In integration, you can have indefinite integration, which is basically minus infinity to infinity, or function attaining infinity, or you can have definite integration, under which we study Riemann. You might be thinking this is going, like on top of you if you're starting, especially starting with the preparation. But trust me, I am telling you, you start your preparation with this, and once you're done with chapters, come back to this, and you will feel, oh my God, you have covered everything. Okay, and this will give you like a super booster confidence. Okay, so and for calculus, the book that I recommend for real analysis and calculus is Malik and Arora. Okay, it's quite famous book, and you will easily find it in the bookstores, and we are also giving you the links in the comment section, so you can just directly go and click on the link, and it will take you to the websites like Amazon and Flipkart, so you can buy from there also. Okay, then comes the third chapter, which is basically analytical geometry. It is also called as the 3D geometry. So in your schools, you might have studied about circles, rectangles, squares, okay, triangles. But here in analytical geometry, you'll be studying about, instead of circles, you'll be studying about its 3D form called sphere. Okay, instead of triangle, you'll be studying about pyramids or tetrahedrons. And similarly, instead of studying about the squares, you'll be studying about cube. Instead of studying about rectangles, you'll be studying about cuboids. Instead of studying about ellipse, you'll be studying about ellipsoids. Instead of parabola, you'll be studying about paraboloid. Instead of hyperbola, you'll be studying about hyperboloid. Okay, that means every 2D shape has become 3D, and now we are dealing with 3D. So therefore, the coordinates here that you'll be studying are basically x, y, z, or you'll be, if you're dealing with cylindrical coordinates, it will become r, theta, z, or if you're dealing with the spherical coordinates, it will become r, theta, and phi. Okay, don't worry. I know that this might seem a little like complicated to you at this point of time, but you will ace through it. Okay, if you study this, you will ace through it. So in analytical geometry, they are like distinct parts. Okay, if I have to divide it, it will be lines, straight lines, then it will be plane. Okay, these are like sub parts that I'm giving you. Then it will be plane, then it will be sphere, then it will be cones. Okay, then it will be cylinders, and after that comes the basically ellipsoids part. Ellipsoids part, which will have hyperboloid, paraboloid, and ellipsoid. Okay, and hyperboloid also 1 sheet and 2 sheet. So in this way, you will have your entire 3D geometry chapter distributed. For this analytical geometry, there are many books that are available. There is one S. Chand publication also that is there. Okay, and then there is one, there is this S. Chand publication, and then there is Krishna series also. Okay, so here, see, I have like taken examples from both, so you can also like study from both or whichever book that you find comfortable with. I'm giving you just the names, but in the end, whenever you're buying the book, just at least go through the index and match it with your syllabus and see what part you feel you need more examples in, and what part you feel that you're comfortable. So in that way, what will happen? You will be only satisfied with whatever books you have bought. I have to give you options at least. So I'm giving you options. S. Chand and Krishna series. Then comes the ordinary differential equation, which is chapter 4. Now, paper 1 ODE and paper 2 PDE, which is partial differential equation, you have to study them together. Okay, together in the sense not like studying this and this together, basically finishing this and immediately after that taking PDE. Okay, take paper 1 first, and then after studying ODE, you switch to PDE. Okay, do not move to another chapter, because ODE and PDE have a lot of things in common. Like even the same formulas they have of integration, differentiation, etc. And that is why it will become very easy for you, because you'll feel like, oh, I remember this formula. Oh, I remember this formula. So if you would have studied PDE later, it would have taken you suppose 7 days, 8 days, but now it will take you only 3 to 4 days. So that way you'll be able to complete the entire chapter. Okay, so paper 1 ODE and paper 2 PDE together. Now in ODE, if I have to divide, basically see ODE, if you have to divide, you can either divide it, and you can divide it into 2 parts. One is basically the differential equation part, and second is basically this Laplace form. Okay, Laplace transformations. Now in differential equation form also, first you need to know how to form a ordinary differential equation. Then after forming, you need to have basically first order, second order, like that. Okay, after that you will study something about orthogonal trajectories. Okay, and then after this you will find basically solutions by different methods. Okay, you will have like 4 methods, depending upon, you will have variable coefficients or constant coefficient, etc. So in this way you can divide your differential equation part, like starting from how to form a how to form an ODE or ordinary differential equation. Its short form is ODE. Okay, so how to form an ODE until the point where you're solving ODEs even with the constant or with the variable coefficients, and going till the Laplace transformation. For ODE and PDE, there is one book called as M.D. Rai Singhania. I find it extremely amazing book because after reading this book, you really do not need any other book, at least for ODE and PD. And this is a complete set in itself, and like all the questions will be solved here. Okay. So I think Laplace is some missing in MD Rising Khania, but for Laplace, what you can do is you can directly go to Google. Okay, and you can easily find Laplace transformation there. Okay, or else there is a book by Rajasthan in the Rajasthan University, which runs like basically for the Rajasthan University, and there they have ODE chapter along with Laplace. So either you can go with that book. Okay, so semester etc. we'll mention in the comment box below. So there you can find the link directly to this book, because Laplace is mentioned in this book, but I don't think Laplace is mentioned in MD Rising Khania. So that way you can complement both your preparations. Okay. Then we'll go to the last chapter. So basically chapter 5, the second last chapter, chapter 5, which is dynamics and statics. So dynamics and statics should be studied along with paper 2's mechanics. Okay, but if you get bored after studying 3, then don't read fluid dynamics then, because fluid dynamics does not have a lot of elements of dynamics, statics and mechanics. But if you want to finish the physics together, see, dynamics and statics and mechanics and fluid dynamics are called as the physics portion of mathematics, because if you are taking physics as an optional, you will find these 2 chapters even mentioned there also. Okay, so these are called as the physics portion of maths, and these are considered to be the toughest portion, because lot of people don't do these chapters, they leave and go. But what UPSC has basically outsmarted us. So what they have done is basically, earlier they used to give you options in which if you even leave these chapters, you will not lose on marks, because you must remember that in maths paper, what is happening is in paper 1 and paper 2, you have 8 questions. Okay, you will have question 1 to 4, and then you have question 5 to 8. Similarly, you have question 1 to 4 and you have question 5 to 8. And each of these question 1 will have like A, B, C, D, something like this, and distributed marks like 10, 15, 20, something like this. Okay, 20 is the maximum marks which generally UPSC is giving to one particular question, or 25, not more than that. Now what is happening, question 1 and question 5 is compulsory in both the papers. Okay, and then apart from, suppose in paper 1, you have to solve 5 questions out of 8. Okay, question 1 and question 5 are compulsory already, so that means you have to choose 3 more questions, and in that also there is a restriction given that you have to select at least one question from each part. Like question 1 to question 4 is called part A, and question 5 to question 8 is called part B. So you have to select one question from part A and one question from part B, and the last 5th question can be from any part. Okay, so in that way you have to select 5 questions out of 8, one from each part, and this happens in both paper 1 and paper 2. So earlier what UPSC was doing is it used to give, suppose it decided to give entire question 6 from dynamics and statics. So people used to leave it and attempt question number 7, and they still used to get like 200 out of 250. But now what UPSC has done is, instead of taking one entire chapter in one question, they have distributed it. So now question number 5, C part will have statics and dynamics question. Question number 6, some B part will have this question. So that way, even if you choose any question, you will definitely have to lose on 10 or 20 marks depending on how much you know about this dynamics and statics. So my strategy to recommend here is, do not leave this chapter. If you have time in hand, please study this, okay? And this will only boost up your scores, because since a lot of janta is not attempting this chapter, if you attempt it, it creates a very good impression in mind of the examiner who's checking your paper, that you have actually studied thoroughly, maths. You have taken maths after thinking, lot of thinking. So that's why I'm telling you, please complete dynamics and statics plus mechanics and fluid dynamics. It's the same scenario with mechanics and fluid dynamics, because this chapter is really difficult. It's really, really vast. And in covering this one chapter, instead you can cover 3 chapters of maths. Everybody knows it, and that is why people leave it. But then their scores are not exceeding 240 or 250. If you have to cross the score and come somewhere around 280, 290, 300, you need to cover these 2 chapters, I'm telling you. There is no joke, UPSC has changed pattern. If you see 2019 paper, you will realize that in paper 1, they have asked almost 85 to 90 marks of statics and dynamics. You can't leave it. Okay, if you have left it, that means, you are losing out on a lot of number of marks. At least you should know how to attempt it, even if you're not getting the right answers in the end. Okay, at least solve something. Maths is about steps also. Okay, so please keep that in mind. So now, after understanding the importance of the physics portion of maths, okay, which is paper 1 dynamics and statics and paper 2 mechanics and fluid dynamics, now we will take, for both of them, dynamics and statics and fluids, for fluids mechanics, we will study later. But for dynamics and statics, you have something called as Krishna series. So Krishna series had 2 books, one for dynamics and other for statics. These two books are the most comprehensive books that you can get for dynamics and statics, and I recommend that you solve them both. And I think your entire dynamics and statics will get covered. So they are already very bulky. Like dynamics is this much, and then again statics is this much. It will take a lot of time, but once you solve it through, you'll be like in a good position to solve any other question. Okay, so dynamics and statics has like, so dynamics and statics itself is divided into like individual parts. So rectilinear motion is one part where you're traveling only in straight line and projectiles, etc. There. Then there is SFM. Then there is work and energy. Then there are Kepler's law. Then there are orbital laws. And there are equilibrium of a system of particles. And there is work and potential energy, friction, virtual work, etc. So all these things are already divided into parts and cover them part by part only. Okay. So book is Krishna series. Okay. Now we come to vector analysis, which is a chapter 6 and the last chapter of paper 1. So here in vector analysis, there are many books available. See, Krishna series is also there. Okay, there is Shom series also. So it's on you what you want to take in vectors. Okay, in vectors, I think Krishna series is also pretty good. And then there is Shom series, and then there is Rajasthan University book also. I mean, Rajasthan University, I won't recommend you until you really need it. So I would say that you go for any of the standard books, either Krishna or Shom series. Okay. Vector analysis also, you will find that you can divide it into two to three distinct parts. Okay. One is obviously studying scalar and vectors and understanding their differences. Then second is the properties of vectors, like all their properties like divergence, curl, grad, etc. So in theorems, you will realize that you have certain theorems like there is Green's theorem. Okay. Then there is Gauss divergence theorem. Then there is this Stokes theorem. Okay. And then there is one formula, Serif-Rennet formula. This you will find every year one question is coming because this is UPSC's favorite. Okay. And it requires a lot of calculation. People do calculation mistakes, they screw up the answer, and UPSC loves it. Okay. So the point is, vector analysis is a very, very easy chapter. It's very scoring. Okay. And you will be able to like actually maximize your scores, but provided that you understand especially these. Says Gauss, Stokes, and this Green theorem, etc. You need to solve a lot of questions because here you will require a lot of imagination also. Okay, you need to understand where you need to put triple integration, where you need to put double integration. So spend some like little bit time on this particular. And Krishna series is a good book for it. Okay. Now let's switch to paper 2. Okay, so in paper 2, the first chapter that we will pick up is algebra, what we also call as modern algebra. Okay, and it is also called as the abstract algebra. This is also called as something as queen of mathematics. Okay, so mathematics, if what we have studied till now is basically the numerical part of it. But actually mathematics was not like this. Okay, there has to be a language that emerged. Okay, there has to be some like why are we able to do addition? Why are we able to do subtraction? There has to be some logic to things. And that logic is given by this algebra chapter, which you also called as modern algebra and abstract algebra because it is so abstract. Okay, you can hear literally this is that I would say that part of mathematics where you can actually prove 2 plus 2 is equal to 5. Depending on what you're taking 2 as, you're taking it as A and B, which group are you taking, okay, which subgroup are you taking, and here you can actually prove absurd things in maths. Okay, I'm not joking. So that is, I'm telling you, this chapter, like if 100 candidates are giving examination, 70 candidates leave it. Okay, I'm not joking, 70 candidates leave it, but the people who actually do it, they end up getting like 340, 330. Because this chapter can make or break your score. Every year, at least 40 to 50 marks of paper is asked. People leave it like that. And what UPSC has done now is that earlier it used to ask only 10 marks question, suppose in like 10 mark compulsory question from modern algebra. But now you will find that 15 markers, 20 markers questions has been asked. And the weightage of modern algebra has increased. And especially in the last 3-4 years, if you see, modern algebra's weightage has gone to 50, even 60, 70, 80 marks have been asked. Paper has been asked from modern algebra. So you cannot leave this chapter. And I'm telling you in this also, I'll give you exactly which is easy, what part is like difficult. So this group, subgroup, cyclic groups, cossets, Lagrange's, normal subgroup, quotient, homomorphism. Okay, this all is very, very easy till you go to permutation groups. Okay. Cayley's theorem, you might have a difficulty like learning it, but Cayley's theorem, see, if you study like 80% of groups and leave like one topic, see, the guilt reduces of not completing a chapter, and secondly, the chances of getting question only from Cayley's theorem is also less. Okay. Then come to this second part. So this modern algebra can be divided distinctly into 2 parts. Okay. Let me just rub the board. Otherwise, it will just get confusing. So modern algebra can be divided into 2 parts. A is the group part and other is the ring theory. So group theory and ring theory. In group theory, you will have basically something called as groups. Then you will study about subgroups. Then you will study about cyclic groups. Then you will study about permutation groups. Then cosets. and then normal subgroups. Okay, and then question groups. So this is how, and then you'll study some properties like homomorphism, isomorphism, cosets, etc. So this is how the group theory will go. Now you will find if you've understood group theory, your ring theory becomes easier. Like because groups, how will I explain? So ring is an extension of group plus something else. So that extension part can get covered here if you studied group theory very like nicely. So in ring theory, you will find that, you know, at least first 20% part is same, similar to what you've studied in groups. So you will have rings, you will have sub rings, and you have ideals, and you know, something like that. But the later part, which is this part, PID, PID, Euclidean, okay, UFD, this becomes a little difficult. This field and question fields, etc. is easy. Only this part is difficult. What is it? PID, UID, and UFD. Okay, so this principal ideal domain, Euclidean domain, and unique factorization domain. So only this part in ring is a little complicated, and that too you will understand once you start solving and get a hang of this ring theory. Okay, so this chapter alone might take you 20 to 25 days. It might take you, depending on how theoretical you can understand maths like subject. Okay, it might, but it definitely takes minimum 10 to 15 days. Like in less than this time you cannot cover this modern algebra chapter, because there is just so much vastness to it. Okay, so I will say that take this chapter, read it with a fresh mind. Do not like do GS and then read this chapter, otherwise you will get nothing out of it. You'll be absolute zero, I'm telling you. This chapter needs like fresh mind. And the book that I recommend is basically here, two books. I'll write the names. Okay, one is obviously Khanna and Bhamri. Okay, and then other book is this R. Kumar book. Okay, so Khanna and Bhamri is like this bulky book. Okay, and this is like more for freshers. If you're starting out and if you don't know modern algebra, then you can refer this book. But if you're like already like, if you want to revise in something in modern algebra and you want to just see theorems, like lot of theorems are there. Like I think more than 150 theorems are there. And if you just want a hang of it and get an examples, etc., then R. Kumar is good because it has two books, one for group and other for rings. Okay, and it is like this short, like I'm telling you, like this in size and this thin. So you will find that, you know, it looks also like psychologically you feel like, okay, this is really less. So this is like quite easy, and here all the theorems are written here. But I'm warning you, neither Krishna series nor any of the book is perfect. Okay, there are a lot of times when the answers are wrong. There are a lot of times that you might feel that this answer is not right, and it can happen because maths is a subject where you know your answer is right or wrong. So if you have an option, if you know that a particular answer is right or wrong, you can please get it checked, or you can mention in the comment box also here. We'll try to get back to you. Okay, if you feel that some answer is wrong and you need to get it like cross-checked, either have it cross-checked with your friends or like, you know, someone who's preparing with maths as an option, or you can put it in the comment box here also. Okay, so R. Kumar and Khanna and Bhamri are the two books that I recommend this for algebra. Then let's move to the chapter 2 of paper 2, which is basically real analysis. Okay, real analysis, I already told you, you have to study with paper 1 calculus. Okay, why? Because a lot of times you'll find that a lot of things are like converging with each other. A lot of theorems you're understanding in much better way. So if real analysis I have to divide, I'll divide it into first obviously understanding about real number, fields, etc. Then comes the part of sequence versus series. Okay, so lot of your time will go in studying just the sequence versus series part. Okay, like their rearrangement, their convergence theorems, and lot of theorems are there. Here, a lot of theorems are there. And paper also, what they directly tell you, they give you a question and tell you whether it is converging or not. So you need to remember those theorems in your head and need to be able to find out, oh, here this theorem has to be applicable. So, you know, this needs a lot of practice. Okay, then here only you'll be studying about something like continuous function, discontinuous functions, differentiability, etc. But with respect to like convergence. Okay, then here you will study something about Riemann integration also, and improper integration. Okay, and here only you will study about this maxima and minima concept. Okay, and plus something about partial differential, like a little bit about partial differentiation also. So this part is easy, and every year questions have been asked from maxima minima. Every year I'm telling you, maxima minima questions have been asked. Okay, and sequence and series is their favorite. Every time they ask it, and so is Riemann. So this chapter is very important, and weightage of this chapter is also quite high. Now the book that I recommended, it's the same. Basically what we referred it there, it's basically Malik and Arora. Okay, so you need to refer it for both real analysis as well as for calculus. Now let's move to chapter 3 of paper 2, which is complex analysis. So complex analysis, as the name suggests, is actually complex, but no, it's a very easy chapter. It's the most scoring chapter, and you will end up like scoring 70 on 70 if you have prepared this chapter even like marginally well, because the questions are easy, theorems are not more, and the chapter, if you actually finish this chapter, it is like this much, very very less, and it will get completed in 7 to 8 days minimum. Maximum if you like even solve like entire past year questions, like 10-year questions and stuff. Okay, so complex analysis, please solve it. And here you will find that a lot of theorems are there. So you can see here on the like screen itself, there's Cauchy-Riemann equation, there is Cauchy's theorem, there is Cauchy's integral formula, then there is power series as one part, in which you have Taylor series also. Okay, and then there is singularities as other part. So if I have to divide it into 3 parts, I will say Cauchy theorem, like so many theorems, then you have singularities, and then you have something called as power series. Okay, so like this. And if you are attempting forest paper, you will realize that this has one more part to it. Okay, so forest, with respect to forest, because maths has a little, I would say, little more addition and little more different different parts added also. So for forest, we'll bring out another video, and we will try to include, especially focus on those particular chapters or those particular subunits which are specifically there in forest but not in UPSC, so UPSC civil services. But this particular lecture is like common for UPSC as well as forest, because forest also has this but some parts extra. Okay, so that we'll cover in a separate video. Okay, so complex analysis, the book that I recommend is Schwarm series. So this book is really nice, and it is chapters by chapter. They start with Cauchy, power series, singularities, and they have a lot of questions like examples, etc. also. So you can fairly, solve this particular chapter from here. Then comes this very interesting, very easy, very scoring and amazing part, because I feel really happy even when I solve this particular chapter, because it's just so easy and you get answers so really well that it just boosts up your spirit. And this is linear programming problems. Okay, so linear programming problems, you will realize that this has like few parts. Okay, this is like, first of all, you learn how to solve it graphically, then you learn simplex. Okay, then you'll learn about duality, and then you will learn about 2 types of problems. One is transportation problem and another is assignment problem. Okay, so this is like 5 parts to linear programming. All of them are easy. They have a set standard, set pattern, and set formula, and set like way of solving. There is no change that you need to do. Only you need to learn the formulas and learn the method and just like apply your mind and get the answer. Okay, so linear programming as such, like there is no like the book that one can specifically refer. I think Krishna series is there. Okay, so you can refer that. And in linear programming, the most amazing part is that if you type linear programming on Google itself, you can actually find a lot of articles written by these top-notch universities like Cambridge, etc., Oxford. And like even I solved from there only. So I saw basically linear programming, and then I put hashtag and simplex. So I got a lot of papers, and then I started solving, and like everything got covered. Okay, and if you guys want maths as an optional, so you need to write in the comment box, because only if you have sufficient response, we'll start like one series for maths optionals, and we'll start at least like try to cover 5 to 6 chapters that that are really easy also, and that you can score, and then you can boost up your preparation. So you need to write it in the comment box so that we know that you read it, and then we can start a particular series. Okay, then we'll move on to next chapter for paper 2, which is partial differential equation, and I told you that you have to cover it with paper 1 of ODE. Okay, so complete ODE and then move to PDE and then complete it in the same stretch. So PDE, it's a very, very easy chapter. Here only one part is difficult, which is this part, which is actually not difficult, but actually it requires you to remember stuff. And that is why I call, and see, in math, there is nothing difficult. Okay, math is difficult only which if it requires you to study and remember something and then reproduce an examination with the same formula. Plus, even if you do plus and minus mistake, your answer is wrong. So in maths, I call difficult as those parts where you have to remember like a lot of big equations and a lot of big formulas which have higher chances of getting wrong, and when you are trying to remember them during examination. Okay, so PDE is easy, and it can be divided into 2-3 parts, like how to form a PDE first, and then finding solutions of PDE, then different orders of PDE like first order, second order, etc. And then finally you will move on to something we call as a canonical form, which is I'm telling you, every year. I'm not even skipping. I'm telling you, every year canonical form is one question. I don't know why people do not take it seriously. This is so easy. This is so scoring, and you can actually get right answers. So why do you want to leave this particular form? Do not leave it. Okay, I'm telling you, I'm suggesting you. And then last thing is about the 3 kinds of formula where PDE is frequently used, is basically heat transfer, then vibrating string, and then Laplace. Okay, so 3 kind of different, you can say different set of questions you study in PDE are these. So for PDE and ODE, both I already told you, MD Sai Singhania is the book. What is it? MD Rai Singhania. Then you have another chapter in paper 2, which is basically numerical analysis and computer programming. Okay, so this chapter, numerical analysis, extremely scoring. The problem here why people do not score is basically when they go for approximation. Okay, paper itself is asking you to write an answer which is correct up to 4 decimal places, and people start, even when they're solving, you're allowed to use a calculator in examination in maths. If you have this doubt that you're not allowed to use calculator, you are allowed to use calculator. Okay, so here you will find that even though you already have a calculator, people are approximating values and writing till 4 decimals, which is wrong. While you're solving a question, you cannot approximate. You have to approximate at the last point. Okay, and if you're approximating here, obviously you can't write 10 to 12 decimals. Approximate at least till 6 or 7, because the answer is asking you to go till 4th. Okay, so these are the very silly mistakes that people do, and then they lose marks on such easy chapters. So you don't have to do it. So numerical analysis, you will find it is only about how to solve a particular equation, how to solve particular problem using numerical methods. So numerical methods, you will have basically you will have something called as bisection method. It will start from very easy like method called bisection. Then you will move towards regular falsi. Then you will move to secant method. Then you will have Newton-Raphson. Then you will have something for matrices solving or system of linear equation solving. Okay, in that you will have 2-3 methods. Okay, you will have direct method, and then you have iterative methods wherein iterations are needed. In direct method, you will have basically Gauss-Jordan and Gauss elimination, but in iteration, you will have Gauss-Seidel. Okay, then you will go to interpolation, in which you have like wherein you will have either intervals divided into equal parts or unequal parts. When you have equal parts, you will have Newton forward and Newton backward, and when it is unequal part, you can have Lagrange's interpolation. Okay, then you will go to basically numerical integration. Okay, how do you do integration using numerical methods? There you have trapezoid method, Simpson 1/3, and Simpson's, like you have Simpson's 1/3 and then Simpson 3/8. Okay, 3/8 rule. And then you have another method called as the Gaussian quadrature. So this till and then last part of it is basically solving ordinary differential equation using numerical method. Here you will have this RK method, 1, 2, 3, 4 order, Euler method, etc. So now I know you must be thinking that what is this? This is so much to study, but this is true. Numerical analysis is a lot of stuff, but you will find that it is really easy. There's one method, you solve like 10 questions. Then there's another method, you solve like 10 questions. Then another method, you solve 10 questions. And this way your entire chapter gets covered. Okay, so starting from here, I have given you these parts. Please, if it is possible, just make like a chart or make like a A4, take like an A4 paper and start writing numerical analysis divided into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you know that you can put tick marks when you're covering everything. Okay, so from here till here, okay, this RK method, you will find that it is numerical analysis, and from here your computer programming starts. So computer programming will first of all have a different kinds of system like decimal system, octal system, binary system, hexadecimal system and all that, and then addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and all these systems. Then you will have basically logic gates concept. You must have studied, I know. I also like logic gates like OR gate, NOR gate, AND gate, NAND gate, okay, like that. Then you will have Boolean algebra that we already know. Okay, and then you will have basically your precision and how basically things get added in computer like signed integers, unsigned integers, etc. Okay, and finally the last part which you feel that it is only like insignificant part and only one part, but every year, mark my word, every year UPSC also knows what you're leaving, and they also ask you from that particular chapter only, that particular subunit only. So they have been asking every year algorithms, in what? In compulsory questions like question 5. So they're every time giving this 10 marker compulsorily algorithm and flowchart making, and then they're also asking like 15 to 20 marker question separately in one of the questions. So my suggestion is not to leave it. I know it will take a lot of time, but please give time to computer programming, algorithms and flowcharts. Do not leave it, because already whatever you have done here in numerical analysis, only for that you have to make algorithms and flowcharts. Two things, algorithm and flowcharts, and that way, that's what I'm saying. If you've already done so much, then why to leave it at this point of time? Please do not leave it. Then we'll move to the last chapter, which is basically mechanics and fluid dynamics. Okay, this chapter we've already studied that I already told you that you have to take it with the paper 1 chapter, which is statics and dynamics. Okay, study along at least mechanics part of it, study with statics and dynamics. If you want to study fluid dynamics later, it's absolutely fine, because fluid dynamics has a lot of things separately and which are different from statics and dynamics. Okay, so this mechanics and fluid dynamics can be divided into two parts, mechanics and fluid dynamics separately. So just generalized coordinates, D'Alembert's principle, Lagrange's equation, Hamiltonian. So this Lagrange and Hamilton equation, every year UPS is asking one question, because they have realized that everybody is leaving it. So it's better that you ask from this. Okay. So it's my humble request. Please solve this Lagrange Hamilton equation, and they are very, very easy concepts. Once you do it, you'll remember it for life. And then there is moment of inertia, motion of rigid bodies, and here till here. Okay. Here is your mechanics part. Then comes your fluid dynamics part, which is basically starting from equation of continuity, Euler's equation, inviscid flow, streamlines, path lines, streak lines, okay, potential flow, vorticity, vortex, and then asymmetric motion, source and sinks, and then finally it's Navier-Stokes equation. So Navier-Stokes equation, people leave it, but trust me, if you do this particular thing, the question that they ask will never be less than 20 or 15 marker. So you are straight away targeting a 15 marker question definitely if a Navier-Stokes equation is asked, because this is so long to solve. It is easy, but it is so long to solve that you might end up exhausting the pages, but your answer might not come. Okay, I know this has happened to a lot of people wherein they said, oh my god, they were just like, if they would have gotten one more page, they would have solved that particular like Navier-Stokes equation, like completed that particular question, but their pages were less. So it's easy, and the book I recommend for fluid dynamics is MD Rai Singhania. Okay, and for statics and this for mechanics part, see, MD is also there, MD Rai Singhania, and Krishna series is also there. Okay, so I mean, but this Lagrange's and Hamilton equations, I've never found it in a book. Okay, I also read it from the net only. I used to like type it and then study from like different articles, etc. Or if you, I mean, it's on you. So basically, I'm telling you honestly what is available and what is not available. So this this LH, Lagrange's and Hamilton equations, they are not present in any book as such. So if you get around a hang of somebody's written notes or some topper's written notes, do get them, because it will be easier for you. Otherwise, you will have to search on Google and get the notes, etc. This is a real task. Okay. And Baki fluid dynamics, you can easily find in MD Rai Singhania. But in fluid dynamics, be cautioned that you do not have to read the entire MD Rai Singhania book. Okay, you have to read only specific chapters. And if you want me to mention those specific chapters, you let me know in the comment box. So if you have a hang of MD Rai Singhania or fluid dynamics, do not get the entire book. Just get those particular chapters photocopied. Okay, and your work will be done. So whatever doubts you have regarding maths, you can actually write in the comment box below. I am here to help you out. Whatever I know, I'm definitely going to deliver, and I'm here to as a mentor, as a friend, and as someone that you can trust. So even if you have a doubt, you should take maths or optionals as or not, you can actually ask your questions, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. And if you want us to come up with the maths optionals course, and you feel that there are certain chapters that you really want us to cover, at least start with those chapters, please mention, and if we get enough response, we'll actually start with it. And meanwhile, all the links of the books have been mentioned in the comment, in the link in that channel where description is given. So please, if you want to buy, you can go and click on those links, and you can have a look at those chapters. Okay, I hope this strategy and this entire thing was useful to you. And we will come with more videos on maths. For example, the marking pattern, and the last years and the last to last years, like which chapters are gaining more weightage, etc. But only if we feel that you guys need one more video on it. Okay, so happy learning, and have a great journey ahead. Thank you.